Well, hi, everybody, and thanks for joining this Tech Talk session. This is episode number one for 2024. Today's discussion is going to be concerning the 2023 ASP Legacy and VB6 migration survey results. These results were taken from our last year's survey. We thought today would be a great day to go over them. So I am Joe Rafanelli. Hello again. I am Director of Technical Solutions here at Macrosoft. We are a customized software development shop. We specialize in migrating old technology to new platforms. We are the migration services experts, right? So, and we stay on top of all the business trends. We conduct yearly surveys. By this, we ensure we understand the pulse of the market. We feel this discussion here will provide our audience with enough information to make an informed decision concerning the migration of an application, which is obviously a very important thing for companies. I'm here with my colleague, Imran Salahuddin. He is our VP of Migration Services to help review the results and decipher the data. Welcome, Imran.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to dive right in. I think everybody can see our slides there. So it's to talk about the ASP Legacy. And we're going to dive right in here. So the first question is, rate the potential risk your legacy VB6 ASP migration survey may take. We see this, and you're going to see a theme here, right? So we got the security and unsustainable application. So obviously it's very important to folks having a secure system, and the survey actually pointed that out. So these survey results definitely do not surprise me, especially in the times we live in today. A lot of bad folks out there trying to get our data. Security is a very, very common risk, right, for companies when it comes to keeping the application running as well. So system instability is also a typical reason we get calls to migrate the applications. So what we're going to do is we're going to decipher this a little bit further. I'm going to ask Imran a few questions. So Imran, what are some common security concerns for a VB6 or a classic ASP application?
So when we talk about any legacy applications like VB6 or classic ASP, everyone knows that they are outdated technologies.
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft developed it. It was in very popular. A lot of applications developed, but they are now outdated, which means Microsoft is not supporting them anymore. So they are outdated and they come with all the risks. The operating systems are getting modernized and all those things. And now we have more threats available for the modern application. So to me, outdated technology is the most big risk, and threat as well, which comes with the whole package, which is limited security, right? Insecure applications, weak authentication, if we talk about the classic ASP, which is the browser-based application, the cross-site scripting, I mean, it's very weak there. So this is all, these all risks, basically, they come with the outdated technology.
Yeah, I totally agree. Talking about the unstable application. So what are some typical reasons, an application can be unstable?
Again, because these applications were developed and was target for a particular version of the operating system. Now the operating system are much more modernized and they are expecting applications to behave in a certain way, and applications are failed to do so. The frameworks are getting more modernized, right? So, and sometimes the operating system or the servers are not supporting the older versions, and that's where we found some instability in those legacy applications. They were working fine, they worked for like 10-20 years, but now they become unstable because of the hardware, because of the operating system, because of some external factors as well, integration with the other applications, and other than that, the scaling issues are also there as well. And now some regulatory changes are there because there are more security threats, and companies are implementing more robust security system, which sometimes disturb the execution of a legacy application.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Having an unstable application is very cumbersome for companies. So I definitely agree with you there. Okay, thank you for that analysis. Okay, so let's go to question number 2. So we're at, what is the most important to your business as you modernize your application? So once again, we see security, right? Improved security and cloud integration are the biggest lines here. So um, the main driver is security, right? The ability to connect, also the ability to connect to the cloud is also a high priority as well. For clients that are thinking about doing a migration, right? So just diving right into it, Imran, what do you think why do you think the shift from on-prem to the cloud is important to companies?
So right now, the whole IT infrastructure is being changed, right? So
Mhm.
we used to have large server rooms, network operation centers, a lot of servers there, a lot of team to manage those servers and monitor them 24 by 7. And adding a new server is a big job. But now, when in the modern cloud era, these things are becoming very simple. And of course, all clients want to take advantage of cost savings. They have to employ less people. They don't worry about the hardware and the total cost of ownership. So it's a lot of cost saving to them. Scalability and flexibility, it's 100% there. I mean, they can scale up to any levels because the cloud is meant for that. Accessibility, teams can work from home. They can access the system infrastructure and do something. And on top, the most important thing is um, faster time to market. Uh, if they want to configure the application for a client, it will be very quick. So that's a biggest advantage. And all these systems come with the automatic updates and maintenance, and whatever the modern service packs are available, they will be rightly available to the servers and the infrastructure. They don't need to do something extra for that, and it's very less downtime for the servers.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good reason to me as well. The survey is indicating again, the security, improve security. So if once folks migrate, right, what new security features can they expect moving to a modern platform?
The biggest one is the authentication. So
Mm,
in the legacy way, each application has the login ID and password, which is specific to the application. But in the modern era, there is a single sign-on, and single sign-on servers are much more secure than any of the legacy ones. When we go in the modern platforms, right? So we can avail the single sign-on feature for all of the applications. Apart from the single sign-on, there's the encryption. The better encryption is available now, and the all security, application security. There are tools available like static analysis, which can ensure the application has no, say, vulnerabilities. So this can fight to any threats much better than any legacy application. The modern applications are working on the APIs, and there are more API security tools available. So these applications are much more secure now.
those tools are going to be very important to folks. Okay, thank you for that. We're going to go to question number 3 here. Okay, what is your biggest impediment to modernizing a new platform? Okay, so what we're seeing here is target platform indecision, right? So folks are having a hard time deciding on the target, right? So then the other thing is time for migration, right? So the priority, trying to prioritize a migration is pretty tough too. So indecision concerning is common, right? Really taking advice from from experts that know what they're doing is typically the way they go, especially if you're not sure what to do. In addition, architecture, right? We got to figure out what that target architecture is right now. A lot of different architectures are out there, and like I said, having an expert on your side to take a look at that really does make sense. Common business priorities is always a challenge, right? So there's always competing business priorities, right? So we see many companies start and stop being migrations. They just don't have the time. So this is typically when they may engage with us to find out what we can do for them. But that's neither here nor there. It's just that folks are having these competing priorities, and it's just taken away from doing that migration. And like I said, typically when you have a vendor helping you, it'll get done, on time. So anyway, so I want to ask Imran a few questions. What is the best target platform for migration from a VB6 or an ASP legacy application perspective?
So VB6 and Classic ASP both were from Microsoft, and
Hmm.
they were using the language of Visual Basic. Both were of them. And now the newest platform from Microsoft is .NET and the ASP.NET framework. So this, I would say, the C Sharp .NET and the ASP.NET. These are the platforms that are more closer to the VB and the classic ASP, and the people find more comfortable who worked on the VB or classic ASP to shift on this C Sharp .NET platforms. Other platforms are also available like Java and Node.js and Python, but for these ones, people are a little, uncomfortable, or I would say, because it's a complete shift of you know, the stack, and these platforms mainly used because of some special requirements. If client has some requirements to move on Java, then of course Java can be used. But other than that, we prefer and advise C Sharp and .NET platforms.
Yeah, we see that a lot. We definitely see that a lot. Okay, other question is, what are some of the typical duration timeframes for a migration? I know it depends on the sizes, but what are you seeing in terms of durations when you're doing a migration?
As you say, it depends on the application itself.
Yeah.
So there are some parameters that we always consider. Um, Number one is the size of the application, how many screens the application has, how many lines of code written, how many reports are there, what is the complexity level, what are the integration level, what are the security required for the new application. During the migration, some clients also ask us to do some customization as well. So it actually all depends on these parameters. Once we understand these parameters, we see, then we can define what will be the time frame to migrate the application.
Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely makes sense. Okay, thank you for that. I'm going to move on. Question number 4. Do you have a single instant version of your application or multiple customized versions for your application? So you see here single version 15%, multiple versions 85%. So this response kind of surprised me. We didn't expect to see 85% with multiple versions. Typically, it's a single version with added features for larger customers is the norm that we've seen, or features added depending on user roles. Multi instances are typically not what we see in our past experience, so we're again a little surprised about this. Imran, I'm just going to ask a simple question: Are we in agreement with that statement?
As you say that you were surprised, I'm also a little
Yeah.
surprised with that. I can tell a little more about it, right? So single version application, it means that one code base. Usually larger companies like banks or the other financial institutions, they use the VB6 applications for their own purposes. It can be ERP, it can be any application that is running within the organization. Um, Looks like many of these applications have been migrated or so far, right? Because we already discussed in the previous questions that the security and maintenance is the biggest threat. Now, multiple versions. These usually are the clients who sell their applications to different customers, and that's how they keep different versions of the application. Versions of the application can be based on some base features and some additional reports and some custom modules basically. So that's how we see a very large number of multiple versions, and that also indicates to me that the clients with this kind of applications, which they multiple clients are using their applications, they find it very difficult to migrate it. In our experience, we usually migrate this kind of applications first, because this is one of the biggest issue to the clients as well, because their customers are at risk as well. And if they modernize their application, they can find more customers, and their deployment time is also become very less. So that's how I am seeing this result.
Okay, makes sense. I'm going to move on to question number 5. What would cause you to begin a migration slash modernization. So we see here long-term viability and security, and we see security risks as also that has come up again. So no companies want to go to market with an old or older application. So nobody wants to do that. It just makes them appear like they're not keeping up with the changing times. So it makes sense. The long-term viability is there, right? So not only do we see long-term viability as a reason to migrate, but we also understand that the resale of a company with a modern application makes it a lot more attractive for a future buyer, and this could also increase the price. So, which is something we see as well. So, Imran, even though around higher percentage of respondents replied long-term viability is at the top, wouldn't you agree that all the factors listed here are also a case for long-term viability?
Yes, all the factors are considered, but long-term viability is the base
Right.
requirement to the clients, right? I completely agree with that. That 83% people responded with long-term viability, and I also completely agree with it.
Yeah. Yeah. This one didn't surprise us. Okay, we'll move on here. Question number 6. What would you do with your current old system data if you moved to a new platform? Results were a little surprising here. Last year it was the other way around. Migrating the data to the new system was the priority. So a lot of respondents, must have had, old data that was not worth keeping. So again, a little surprising. So Imran, what are the company sectors that you would consider needing, archive data?
Right. So, Joe, let me comment on the first one as well.
Sure.
Archiving, 71% says I archive the data. In our view, because we are in the migration business, we deal with the migration projects every day. In our experience, I think 95% of our clients or the migrations we did, they migrated to the new database system.
Yeah.
A very few of them wanted to archive. And your second question, what companies? Usually, these are the banking and the financial institutions or the healthcare institutions who have the data of last 30 years, and they just don't want to keep this data for the modern applications. So that's why they archive it. And some other government organizations, let's suppose as well, they want to archive the data and go to the new platform. And another reason to archive the data is sometimes client want to modify and customize their database as well. So in that way, getting the legacy data to the new database is again a problem, which the legacy data won't work with the new application and they don't need it. So that's why they also want to archive the legacy data.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm sure we'll see different results in our next survey. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question. This is question number 7. How big is the application in terms of number of screens? So we're seeing here 26 to 50 is at 40%, and 11 to 25 is the second highest percentage. Obviously, these figures, sort of change year over year. There was not that big of a change from last year in the survey you're seeing here. I think what we're trying to say here is still many companies are running VB6 and ASP classic applications. They're still in the times where it's the older coding language. So um, question for you, Imran, what are the team sizes and migration timeframes for applications with the above sizes? Let me just give folks a little color on that.
Again, Joe, I'll start. It depends, but I can give some idea about it. As I
Sure.
mentioned earlier, that the migration duration and the team size all depends on the length of the application and length of the migration and the how big the application is. To give an idea, let's take a VB6 application which has like 50 screens with the normal complexity or medium complexity. For that kind of application, it would take like 5 developers for 4 months to migrate this kind of an application.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, let's move on. That was 7. Question 8. Do you have a current ASP VB developers, to support the application? So what we see here, dependencies on contractors, or vendors, right, for ASP support has seen a significant rise because we do actually get a lot of these calls where folks will need support. In addition, the presence of in-house ASP VB6 developers as well as freelancers has decreased, right? So the folks, are actually looking for, or companies are actually looking for support outside of their own company. Um, that's what we've been seeing over the past couple of years, and we do get calls for support. As a matter of fact, I just got one today. So Imran, just a question: what do you think this might suggest?
Um, the legacy applications are become more legacy every day, right?
Hmm.
The support teams that or the support resources that were with that company, they are getting retired as time passing.
Yeah,
So the risk is getting increased, right? And it's also not a very economical decision to keep multiple resources, especially if you have a medium-sized application which is used by some people, not the whole organization. You don't keep um, multiple resources. And we found that, sir, it was surprising to us that even the core business application is supported by just one developer who know the legacy application, and there's nobody else who can support the application in absence of him. So that is the reason these companies are contacting contractors who can provide multiple resources and the backups as well. So that way they are more secure to support their application for their remaining life.
yeah, definitely. Support is definitely needed. Um, for folks that obviously don't that no longer do it in house. So absolutely. Okay, let's move on. Question 9 is okay. Question starts with: once started, what is your expected time frame to complete a migration? So if you see here, most respondents, right, are under a year. Right? So if you do 64 plus, it's a 67%. Believe that should be in less than a year. 64% of the respondents indicated that could be even less than a year, like 6 months. This percentage is significantly lower than it was last year. So folks are really saying they want the speed of the migration to happen under a year and potentially even within 6 months. Um, and again, this is always a challenge because we got under a year, depending on what the size is, under a year could be a bit of a challenge. Um, Imran, what are some reasons migration projects are expected to be faster in these days?
So clients want migrations to be done very fast because
Yeah.
when the migration projects are in progress, they have to stop any modifications to their legacy application, um, and they limit basically their support and all activities because they're eventually will be using to the new application. That is the main concern. That's why they want their application to be migrated very fast. But there is no easy button for quick migrations. But Microsoft has developed tools that are doing migrations very fast and accurate. Code Auto is the newest tool that Microsoft has developed, which is leveraging the power of generative AI. And with this tool, it's doing some magic for us, and we are doing this migration price faster than we used to do a year ago.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know we even did a tech talk on that. So it's definitely helping us with that with those time frames. Okay, we are on the last question here. So is describe any problems you've experienced with ASP VB6.
So these are some of the responses that we collected from the people, and
Hmm.
all of them are completely related to the VB6 and the classic ASP, like outdated ActiveX component in VB6. No advancement is done in ActiveX technology, so and they are just serving the purpose they built for, and they are no more doing anything more than that. Security vulnerabilities are there. We discussed a lot about it. The new threats, they are unable to handle it, so their security vulnerabilities are there. Lack of support for the new standards. Now the softwares are being written in a little different way, more modern way, and VB6 and the classic ASP are not following that. uh, their life is done. So whatever life is remaining is very short until the people who know VB6 and classic ASP their life, they will be supporting these applications. And another thing is if they want to, because no one wants to work on the legacy technology. VB6, it has an old IDE. It doesn't work with the new IDEs like Microsoft Visual Studio. You have to use the old Visual Studio to support your or to maintain your VB6 application. Application stability and bugs are of course there because of the technology. Lack of support of the new technology because sometimes it's really hard to communicate to the other applications or integrate with the other applications if you have the legacy applications. Security risks are there, and of course, they are long term until they are resolved or you migrate, they will be there every day. Compatibility issues with the latest operating system, it's there and it's getting increased because the operating systems are getting advanced as well, and they also are requiring a lot of standards from the applications to be followed. And of course, the legacy applications like VB6 is not there.
Yeah.
Yes.
As a legacy migration company, these are spot on. Everything, all the reasons why we would actually get a call and start down the migration services path. So I appreciate you diving a little deeper into all of these. Okay. Um, I want to take a moment here to see if there's any questions via the chat, and we'll get them answered real time. We'll just give everybody a couple minutes to type in. Okay, so the first question we have is, you mentioned an AI tool you developed. What does it do and what are the benefits? Great question. Go ahead, Imran.
So Microsoft has a lot of tools that we use in migration projects. We do VB6, Classic ASP, and the VFP. We have the code morph tool that we have been using for our migrations. The newest tool that I just mentioned is Code Auto, and it's built on the generative AI. So it migrates the VB6 code accurately to C Sharp.NET, and not only migration of the code, you can use it for the documentation, for understanding the code, and for optimization of the code as well. So that's how it's really aiding the developer to move fast in the migrations.
Thank you. Okay, we got another question here. What does a typical migration cost and how long does it take? So I'll take this one. It's a question that always gets asked because I always give the analogy: if you go to a car dealership, you know approximately how much something's going to cost because you can research it, right? When you do migrations, is a different story, right? So it really, and I think Imran touched on this before, it really does depend, on the complexities, right? There's a lot of different factors and how it's written. Sometimes there's spaghetti code, right? How long it takes. Like if it's written in a decent way, if we can run it through the tools, we're looking at between $3 and $3.50 per line. So and that's pretty aggressive. And we try and keep migrations under a year. Obviously, if it's less lines of code, which is how we do how we kind of figure out costing, it's a lot less time frame. But we do our best, to keep it under a year, if not even under 6 months. We want to get that going, as soon as possible. But again, it all just depends. I want to use my words cautiously. It really just depends on your individual needs. Obviously, there would have to be a phone call there to understand how large your application is. We can use some tools to actually figure out the sizing and give quotes that are high level. So forgive me if that's not a good enough answer, but that's the best I can do at this point. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, this is also a very good question. How involved does a company need to be while migrating a project, while a migration project is going on? So I get this question all the time. So what we typically do, especially in the beginning, there'll be daily calls to really understand, the application. Typically, these are system demos where there'll be a nice Q&A. We'll do a couple of these, maybe a couple in the beginning. There'll be daily calls. Calls can last anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes. But then once we have that basic understanding, we have that knowledge transfer, it's weekly, right? So there'll be weekly status checks, right? And then those are typically calls about 30 minutes a week. And then what we do is we'll do the monthly stakeholder meetings. Those are the risk assessment meetings, for the stakeholders that have the biggest stake, obviously, in the application. And those are typically 30 to 45-minute meetings, per month. So that's how basically that would work. So not too much time on the client side when it comes to that perspective. We take care of most of it, but again, the knowledge transfer piece is the biggest piece. Okay, hopefully that's sufficient. Okay, let's give folks a little bit more time to see if there's any other questions. Looks like there is one more question. How do you expect modern alternative solutions to perform against, let's say, a bespoke healthcare solution which has already taken decades to mature? Do you want to take that one, Imran? Oh, we can't hear you. You want to mute?
Okay. Can you hear me?
There you go. Yeah, you know, go ahead. Sorry, you're on mute. Go ahead.
So there is a comparison between developing a new application from scratch and migrating a legacy application. So when we migrate from a legacy application, it means we are migrating all the business rules that are written in the legacy application, which are matured in last 20, 30 years ago. How do we understand all those business rules? Because we have the team of experts who can read the VB6 or other legacy applications, and we have processes that ensures that all the business rules are migrated. And we also have the tools to ensure that no code is left behind. Another thing is the way the business rules or the program is written in the legacy way. If there's the cushion for my modernization, we do that thing as well. But we migrate the whole application accurately, compare it by running side by side, and that's how we ensure that the application is completely and accurately migrated, and all the business rules which were added during the course of last 30 years are migrated as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, let's see if there's any other questions. Okay, waiting on a few questions here. All right, looks like that's it for today. I want to thank everybody for their chat questions. They were great questions. And I want to thank Imran for his time and your expertise. That was excellent. If anyone has more questions or any of the things you want to talk about, anything else you want to talk, you can contact me. There's my contact information. Call me or send me an email. We can set up some time, and we could just go through your application and what your pain points are, and then give you a quote as well, and then we can take it from there. But for now, I want to thank everybody again. Thank you for your time, and until next time, have a good day. Take care now.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye now.